Hello and welcome to the first of many videos titled Vintage Iron Man Armor Builds. And as this is the first video, it's going to be about the very first Iron Man armor Tony Stark ever built in the classic Tales of Suspense issue 39. I figured I'd use the commentary to give you a little bit more about the backstory and the comparison between the comics and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In the very first comic we are actually presented with the origin story of Iron Man, and it's actually presented very similar to the one in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Although back in the 60s, of course, there was nothing close to arc reactors or anything like that. Now if you take a closer look at comics through the ages, you'll find that all comics and all characters therein are products of their time. And in no other type of character it's more obvious than in the technology-based one, because he can't be anything else than the paragon of the technology of his time. And in the case of Tony Stark in the 60s, it was electromagnetism and transistors. And the paragon of that time, of course, would be able to miniaturize them and basically build them in all shapes and sizes. But let's get back to the story. As I said, it's very similar to the one in the MCU, only the names and places are different. So Tony Stark was visiting Vietnam to help with the war effort and was taken prisoner by the Red Guerrilla tyrant Wong Chu. Same as in the MCU, he had shrapnel near his heart which would have killed him within a week. And he had help by a Professor Yinsen, who helped him build the armor and later sacrificed his life to buy time for the armor to finish charging. So much for the similarities. Now let's look at the differences. Back in the day, nobody would have been able to build an electromagnet into his chest, so in the 60s, the entire chest piece was the magnet that was keeping the shrapnel at bay. The comic ends after the newly born Iron Man defeats the tyrant and heads off into the jungle. I have to say, comparing the original armor to the one built in the movie, I actually prefer the one in the movie, because it looks much more raggedy and cobbled together. The one in the comics almost looks like a ready-made armor out of a shop or something. Alright, so here we are at the end of this little video. You can see the Iron Man armor in all its glory. And if you're new to comics and you want to dig in, especially Marvel Comics in this case, I'd suggest the Marvel Universe app, or the Marvel Universe service. You will buy it for, I think it's about 60 per year or something, and in return you get, I think, over 20,000 comics right now, many of them whole series and first issues, so you can discover all your favorite heroes. Alright, so that wraps it up for this episode. I hope you'll be back for the next one, for the next iteration of the vintage Iron Man armor, and until then, take care, bye bye.